I'm Evelyn Stone, still sitting in my usual corner of the family diner, a cold cup of tea in hand. My eyes quietly following Callista, my older sister, shining like a flame in the crowd. Her voice cuts sharp as a knife, mocking, "Evelyn, still daydreaming with your useless code?" The whole family laughs, their gazes passing over me like I'm invisible. But I bite my lip, hiding a secret smile. They don't know that in the shadows, I've built an empire. Callista, the dazzling star, could she ever imagine she's mocking the one who holds the key to appending her spotlight? A glint flickers in my eyes, making Mom pause, curious. What lies behind my silence? Will Callista crumble when the truth explodes, or will I forever remain the shadow? From a young age, I was used to being overshadowed. I remember my 10th birthday, the family gathered around a strawberry cake, candlelight flickering before me. But then Callista burst through the door, ponytail high, waving a gold trophy from a local singing contest. "Our little star!" Mom cheered, hugging her tightly. I stood there, smile frozen, the candles fading like my hopes. No one asked what I wished for. I quietly clutched the programming kit Dad gave me, a battered plastic box with circuits and a coding manual, and slipped away to my room. That night, while the family raved about Callista's victory, I sat under my desk lamp, fingers trembling as I typed my first line of code. The green screen blinked back, as if whispering, "Evelyn, this is where you belong." My heart pounded, not from jealousy, but because I'd found a world where I didn't need the spotlight to shine. Callista was the flame, and I was the moonlight, dim but steadfast, illuminating corners no one noticed. While she performed on stage, I was lost in numbers and algorithms. Mom once said, "Evelyn can sit for hours without making a sound." Dad joked, "We've got a firecracker and a lantern in this house." You know who's who. I didn't bother explaining. I loved the quiet, where I could dismantle a toy to see how it worked, where I tinkered with code to make a game run smoothly. Each completed line of code was a small victory, a brick in the foundation of my own world. Callista could make a room applaud, but I made computers sing, and for me, that was enough. In college, I met Edsel Moore, a fast-talking guy who dreamed of changing the world with tech. We became friends, two oddballs with beat-up laptops, camped out in a dorm room reeking of burnt coffee. "Evelyn, you're the brain, I'm the mouth," Edsel grinned, eyes blazing. At 27, we started NeuralNet, a crazy idea for an AI system analyzing data for healthcare and education. I coded day and night, eyes burning, fingers aching, while Edsel jetted around, pitching to investors. Once, I fixed a system glitch at 3 a.m., with an entire hospital relying on NeuralNet to monitor patients. When the system came back online, I sat alone in my tiny apartment, tears streaming, not from exhaustion, but pride. "I saved someone," I whispered, though no one heard. Now, at 32, NeuralNet is worth tens of millions, with contracts from hospitals, schools, even the government. But my family doesn't know I'm the co-founder. Edsel's the face in the news, the conference speaker, while I stay backstage, where my code quietly changes lives. My name only appears in internal documents, investment contracts, and emails no one reads. I don't need the spotlight or flashy handshakes. I want freedom, freedom to create, to breathe, to be myself without judgment. But sometimes, in the long nights, as city lights flicker outside my window, I wonder, does anyone truly see me? Callista never stops mocking. At every family dinner, she brags about her event planning projects, her local TV appearances, then turns to me with a smirk, "Evelyn, you gonna live with those computers forever?" I give a faint smile, but inside, a storm rages. I want to scream, "Do you know what I've built? Do you know my code saves lives, teaches kids, transforms industries?" But I stay silent. Not out of fear, but because I know, the truth will speak for itself. I learned that in the dark, when the world turned its back. Silence isn't weakness, it's where I forge my strength. Once, I overheard Mom tell my aunt, "Callista's our pride and joy. Evelyn, she's just into weird stuff." Those words cut like a knife, but I didn't cry. I went home, opened my laptop, and wrote a new algorithm for neural net, a system for early disease prediction. When it launched, saving dozens of patients, I sat alone, smiling. "This is my pride," I whispered to the screen. But deep down, I longed for the day my family would see me, not through the spotlight, but as me. My secret grows, like embers under ash. I'm not just a coder, I'm the brain behind neural net, approving every major decision, keeping the company steady through storms. But I choose to hide, not from insecurity, but because I love the freedom of the shadows. There, I can dream, build, without the weight of judging eyes. Callista may be the firecracker, but I'm the moonlight, and moonlight doesn't need applause to shine. That day, stepping out of the family diner, the weekend sun fading on the sidewalk, a quiet fire burned in me. Callista, my sister, had just left with her smug grin, her latest jab echoing, "Evelyn, you gonna live with those computers forever?" I took a deep breath, swallowing a storm. They didn't know those computers were the heart of neural net, the empire I'd silently built. But now, a strange wind was blowing, and it carried Callista's name. I'd known since last week, when an HR email popped up, applicant recommendation, Callista Stone, finance specialist. My heart skipped. Callista, who always saw me as a useless shadow, was knocking on my world's door, oblivious. I sat before my laptop in my quiet apartment, city lights flickering outside like secrets waiting to spill. Callista's application sat before me, a neat PDF, her photo in a navy blazer, smiling like she owned the world. I skimmed her experience, a failed event planning startup, a few years in accounting for a small firm, and bold self-praise, "I'm a problem solver, capable of optimizing budgets at any scale." I nearly laughed. Callista, who called me a useless dreamer, wanted to optimize budgets for my company? Part of me wanted to reject her application, let her taste failure like she'd pushed me into the dark. But I paused, fingers hovering over the keyboard. No. This wasn't about revenge. This was a chance to see what Callista would do when her spotlight failed her. I clicked, approving her application. A window popped up, confirmed forwarding to interview stage. My heart raced, not from worry, but from a strange thrill, like I'd opened a door to a game only I knew the rules to. I imagined Callista strutting into neural net, confident as ever, boasting about her skills, unaware every step was under my gaze. "Welcome to my world, sis," I whispered, a faint smile crossing my lips. But deep down, a wave of emotions surged, satisfaction mixed with unease. Would Callista crumble when the truth hit, or would she make me see her differently? The next day, at another family dinner, Callista swept in wearing a fiery red dress, hair in glossy curls under the lights. She sat down, launching into her latest plans, voice ringing like a bell. "I applied to neural net, a super hot tech company. If they hire me, I'll make their budget flawless. If not, their loss." The family nodded, Dad even clapped. "That's my girl, always shining." I bowed my head, pretending to sip tea, but my lips twitched. "You'll find out soon, Callista," I thought, heart pounding. No one noticed the glint in my eyes, like a spark flaring in the dark. Mom turned to me, asking absently, "Evelyn, you still doing that coding stuff at home?" I nodded, voice flat, "Yeah, same old." But inside, I screamed, "You don't know who I am." The following week, I got word, Callista passed her interview and joined neural net. In my private office, a small room on the top floor I rarely used, I pulled up the internal cameras. On the screen, Callista strode in on her first day, confidently shaking hands, her voice echoing in the meeting room, "I'll take finance to the next level." I chuckled, but the smile faded, replaced by a strange feeling. She truly believed she could do it. Part of me admired her confidence, but another part burned. Do you know who's behind it all, Callista? I deliberately assigned her a tough project, a financial plan for a new AI system, with a tight budget and complex demands. "Let's see what you've got," I whispered, eyes glued to the screen. Over the next days, I tracked her through internal emails, reports, and casual pantry chats. Callista worked hard, but I noticed something: she wasn't used to being unnoticed. She tried to win praise from colleagues, but at neural net, results mattered more than words. Once, I overheard her complain to a coworker, "I don't get why this project's so hard. Who approved this stingy budget?" I smirked at the screen. "That'd be me, sis." But then, a moment caught me off guard. In an email to the finance director, Callista suggested cutting costs on secondary software to fund medical AI research. The idea wasn't bad. I sat up, scanning her numbers. They were precise, sharp, even more creative than I'd expected. For the first time, a spark of respect crept in. "Callista, you're surprising me," I murmured. But I quickly reminded myself, not yet. She needs to know the truth first. I decided to speed up the game. I had HR send Callista an internal document, a financial report with my signature, Evelyn Stone, co-founder. I pictured her face as she opened it, eyes widening, breath catching. But I didn't stop there. I added her to a high-level meeting where I'd appear as a technical consultant, a vague title I used to mask my true role. On the meeting day, I stood before the mirror, adjusting my black blazer, heart pounding. "Today, you'll see me, Callista," I whispered, but my voice trembled. Not from fear, but from a strange longing. I wanted her to be proud of me, just once. I walked into the meeting room, and Callista's eyes met mine. She froze, brows furrowing. "Evelyn? What are you doing here?" she asked, voice thick with doubt. I smiled softly, replying, "Just helping with tech stuff." But as the meeting began, and I presented the new AI strategy, my voice clear and confident, I saw Callista stiffen. She flipped through the documents, eyes locking on my signature. I knew she understood. No words were needed, her look said it all, shock, regret, and a hint of fear. My heart ached, but I stayed composed. "Welcome to my world, Callista," I thought, and this time, my smile was no longer a secret. I'd waited for this moment, but when it came, I didn't feel victorious. Instead, a strange feeling stirred. Part of me wanted her to be proud, to see me as a sister, not the loser she'd mocked. But Callista said nothing after the meeting. She left, eyes downcast, leaving me with a lingering question: did she truly understand, or was she just denying the truth? In the days that followed, I watched Callista from afar, through her reports, emails, and fleeting moments in neural nets halls. She kept working, but something had shifted. Her proud smile faded, replaced by quiet focus. She stopped seeking attention in meetings, instead taking careful notes, asking sharp questions. I saw her alone in the pantry, cradling a coffee mug, eyes distant like she was wrestling with herself. Once, I heard her whisper to a colleague, some things I thought I knew, but I didn't know anything. My heart twinged. Was she talking about me? I wanted to approach her, to ask outright, but I held back. Let her find the answers, I told myself, though part of me ached to hear her say, "Evelyn, I was wrong." I decided to push further, not to punish, but to challenge. I sent Callista a confidential document, a 100-page strategic report, my name not just on the final signature but in every note, every key decision. I imagined her opening it, fingers trembling as she flipped through, realizing everything she touched at Neural Net, from the budget she managed to the systems she used, bore my mark. I pulled up the internal cameras, watching her in her office, the screen's glow on her pale face. She paused at the final page, where I'd written, "Approved by Evelyn Stone, co-founder and chief architect." She covered her mouth, like she'd been punched. I switched off the camera, heart racing. "Now you know, Callista," I whispered, but my voice shook, not from triumph, but from an old pain resurfacing, the pain of years spent invisible. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat by the window, watching rain drizzle over the city, each drop a memory I'd tried to bury. I recalled Callista's mocking laughter in front of the family, Mom saying, "Evelyn, why can't you be more like your sister?" I'd chosen silence, not from weakness, but because I believed the truth would speak. Now, with the truth laid bare, I was scared. Scared Callista would turn away, scared she'd never see me as a sister, only a secret that shamed her. I sipped my tea, trying to shake the feeling, but it clung like fog. The next morning, an email from Callista appeared. Subject: request for neural net founding documents. I froze, breath catching. She wasn't stopping. She wanted to dig deeper, to know the whole truth. I approved the request, but this time I added a small note: Callista, if you want to know, ask me directly. I didn't expect her to. Callista never admitted mistakes, never stepped down from her throne of pride. But then, the unexpected happened. That afternoon, as I checked systems in the server room, my refuge among the hum of machines, the door swung open. Callista stood there, hair disheveled, eyes red, clutching a stack of printed documents. Evelyn, she said, voice trembling like a cold wind. It's you. From the start, right? I stood tall, meeting her gaze, feeling the world still. Yes, I replied, voice calm but heart chaotic. Neural net is mine and Edsel's. I built it, every line of code, every decision. Callista stepped back, as if the truth was a blow. She flipped through the documents, pointing at my name. I read it all. You're everywhere, every contract, every strategy. I didn't know. Her voice broke, and I saw tears roll down her cheeks. For the first time, I saw Callista, not the proud star, but a sister facing her mistakes. I wanted to say something, to shout how much her words had hurt, but I just stood there, hands clenched. What did you think I was, Callista? I asked, voice soft but sharp. She bowed her head, tears hitting the floor. I thought you were just my dreamy little sister, going nowhere. I was wrong, Evelyn. Completely wrong. Her words were a blade, painful yet freeing. I stepped forward, placing a hand on her shoulder, gentle but firm. You don't need to apologize. Just understand. That's enough. Callista looked up, a new light in her eyes, not pride, but respect. In the weeks that followed, I saw Callista change. She worked with a dedication I'd never seen, no longer chasing attention, but focusing on results. One day, she sent me a new report, with a note: "Thank you, Evelyn, for giving me a chance." I read it, tears welling. Not because of the thanks, but because I realized Callista finally saw me. Not as NeuralNet's co-founder, not as the brain behind the system, but as Evelyn, the sister she'd overlooked. But the moment that truly took my breath came later. In an internal meeting, when the finance director asked about a new idea, Callista stood, voice clear: "I propose an AI training program for underprivileged kids. And I want to credit Evelyn Stone, the inspiration behind it, the one who built NeuralNet from nothing." The room applauded, but I only saw Callista. My heart stopped. She smiled at me, a smile free of pride, only sincerity. I bowed my head, hiding tears, but inside, I knew the door between us was open, and this time, it would never close. I stood before the mirror in my small apartment, the dim light catching the simple black dress I'd chosen for NeuralNet's 4th anniversary gala. Tonight, I'd step out of the shadows, not to boast, but to prove that I, the girl once deemed invisible, had built a world. After Callista publicly credited me in that meeting, my heart felt like a new door had opened, but it was heavy. I no longer resented her, but the scars from years of mockery still ached. I took a deep breath, adjusted my hair, and whispered to myself, "Evelyn, it's time." But my heart raced, not from fear of the spotlight, but because I knew Callista would be there, and I longed, just once, to see pride in the eyes of the sister who'd pushed me into the dark. In the weeks after Callista faced the truth, I noticed her change, not in words, but actions. She arrived early, stayed late, scrutinizing reports with a care I'd never seen. In meetings, she didn't interrupt to steal the show, but listened, nodded, offered sharp insights. Once, I caught her guiding a young intern, voice gentle: "Don't fear mistakes, just try." I had to learn from scratch too. I stood behind the door, hand clenched, feeling a weight in my chest dissolve. Callista, the proud firecracker, was now a warm flame, ready to light others' paths. But I kept my distance, not from doubt, but because I wasn't ready to face the truth: we were becoming real sisters. I decided to test her once more, not to judge, but to widen the door between us. I assigned Callista a new CSR project, building a free digital library for rural students. I said nothing, just sent a brief email, "You've got this. I believe in you." The night before the proposal deadline, I saw her on the internal cameras, alone in her office, hair messy, eyes red from sleeplessness. She muttered to herself, typing furiously. When the report reached me, I could barely breathe. It wasn't just flawless, she'd added a note, "For Evelyn, who taught me value lies in action, not the spotlight." I sat there, tears streaming, not from pride, but because I realized, Callista didn't just see me, she was learning to be like me, in her own way. The 4th anniversary gala was a turning point. I stood behind the curtain, hearing Edsel charm the crowd, my heart pounding like it might burst. "Evelyn, ready?" he asked, eyes gleaming. I shook my head, smiling weakly, never ready. But when the MC announced, Evelyn Stone, Neural Net co-founder, I stepped forward, the spotlight blinding like it might swallow me. The room erupted in applause, but I sought one face, Callista's. She stood in the far corner, gripping her wine glass, eyes wide in disbelief. I took a breath, voice trembling, "I'm Evelyn Stone. I'm not great with words, but for 4 years, Edsel and I built Neural Net on the belief that tech can change lives." I spoke of sleepless nights, near-system failures, and how we pushed through. When I glanced at Callista again, she wasn't holding her glass, she was wiping her eyes, lips pressed tight. After the speech, I retreated backstage, but the crowd wouldn't let me go. Colleagues swarmed, laughing, "Evelyn, you're a living legend." I smiled, but my heart was heavy. I wanted to talk to Callista, to know what she thought. I searched the room, but she was gone. A void opened in me, like I'd lost something. That night, I sat on my couch, replaying the gala livestream on my laptop. I watched my speech, not to see myself, but to find Callista in the crowd, to know what she saw. But the screen only showed a sister quietly leaving me with the question, does she truly understand me? The next day, at a family dinner, I arrived with a heavy heart. Callista showed up, no longer in a flashy red dress or sparkling jewelry, just a simple white sweater, hair tied low. She sat across from me, her gaze soft but meaningful. When my uncle teased, "Evelyn, still tinkering with computers at home? Why aren't you famous like your sister?" I gave a weak smile, ready to brush it off. But Callista spoke, her voice clear and firm, "Uncle, Evelyn's the smartest person I know. Without her, I wouldn't be where I am." The table fell silent. I stared at her, heart stopping. She continued, "I used to think I was everything, but Evelyn taught me real value doesn't need to be flaunted." Mom squeezed my hand, eyes teary. I smiled, but inside, a wave crashed, not from the praise, but because I saw Callista, the sister I'd always wanted, standing before me. After dinner, as everyone left, Callista pulled me to the balcony. She handed me a small box, inside a silver pen engraved with my name. "I searched for this all week," she said softly. "I want to thank you, not just for Neural Net, but for not giving up on me, even when I was awful." I opened the box, finding a folded note. Inside, she wrote, "Evelyn, I'm proud of you. Can we start over?" My tears fell, unstoppable. I took her hand, whispering, "Yes, sis." For the first time, there was no distance between us, just two sisters, standing in the fading sunlight, like two trees finding each other after a storm. In the months after Callista and I reconnected, Neural Net entered a new phase. I began leading strategy meetings, standing before employees, my voice no longer trembling. Once, I shared a new vision, an AI platform to personalize lessons for disabled students. As I spoke, their eyes held not just respect, but trust. I glanced at Callista, sitting in the front row, nodding slightly, her smile warm. Not the proud grin of a star, but the smile of a sister, proud of her little sister. I bowed my head, hiding a tear, my heart light as a kite soaring high. Evelyn and Callista's story teaches us that self-worth lies not in external recognition, but in what we quietly build and how we treat each other. Understanding, even if late, can heal rifts, and forgiveness is the key to new beginnings. Live true to your passion, be patient with others, and don't fear stepping out of the shadows to shine. Act today, cherish those around you, and share your inspiring story. Like, comment, and subscribe to join us in spreading meaningful lessons. Your support is the spark that fuels us to create more compelling content that touches your heart. Callista, now, was someone I never imagined. She wasn't just an excellent finance specialist, she became an inspiration. One day, I received an email from her, subject, community idea. She proposed a charity campaign, free tech courses for orphaned kids. In the document, she wrote, "Tech changed my life, thanks to someone I didn't understand. I want to give that chance to other kids." I read it repeatedly, heart racing. Someone I didn't understand, she didn't name me, but I knew. I approved the project instantly, adding a note, "You make me proud." When she read it, she replied with one line, "Let's do it together, sis." I smiled, feeling an invisible door swing wide, letting light flood in. But the biggest surprise came one rainy afternoon. I was organizing files in my office when an employee delivered a small package, no sender listed. Inside was a deep green leather notebook, its cover engraved, "Moonlight." I opened it, finding Callista's neat, sincere handwriting. "Evelyn, I once thought light was everything, but you taught me darkness can shine too. This notebook is for you to keep writing your story, and I hope to be part of it." I sat down, hands trembling, tears falling. Not for the gift, but because Callista understood, not just neural net, but me, the long nights I fought alone, the dreams I thought no one cared about. I wrote back, "You're already part of it. Thanks for being my light." When she got it, she called, voice choked, "Evelyn, I won't promise to be perfect, but I promise to always be here." We didn't say more, just listened to the rain over the phone, like it was the heartbeat we shared. One weekend, I returned to the family diner where it all began. The old wooden table was still there, the smell of waffles still thick, but the air felt different. Callista arrived late, in a plain gray sweater, no sparkling jewelry or fiery dresses. She sat beside me, her shoulder brushing mine, her gaze soft. As Mom talked about her new garden, Dad turned to me, "Evelyn, what do you do at that company? I hear it's a big deal." I smiled, ready to deflect, but Callista spoke first. "Dad, Evelyn doesn't just work there. She's the heart of Neural Net, the one who makes us all proud." I stared at her, stunned. Not for the praise, but for the sincerity in her voice, like she wanted the world to know who I was. I took her hand under the table, whispering, "Thanks, sis." She squeezed back, no words needed. That night, in my apartment, I opened my laptop but didn't work. I took out the Moonlight notebook, writing the first line, "Today, I learned forgiveness doesn't erase the past, it lets the future bloom." I thought of Callista, our journey, from mocking jabs to proud glances, from distance to embraces. We weren't perfect sisters, but we were real. I thought of the biggest lesson, my worth wasn't in being seen, but in how I chose to live. Silence was once my escape, but now, it was where I found strength to forgive, to love, to start anew. A text from Edsel popped up, "Heard the Stone Sisters are an unstoppable team. Ready for the next big project?" I laughed, replying, "Ready. But this time, we're stepping into the light together." I sipped my tea, gazing at the night sky. Somewhere, a star twinkled, reminding me the moonlight is never alone, it always has stars beside it. Callista and I, moonlight and flame, had found a way to shine together. And that, to me, was a beginning more beautiful than any dream. Evelyn and Callista's story teaches us that self-worth lies not in external recognition, but in what we quietly build and how we treat each other. Understanding, even if late, can heal rifts, and forgiveness is the key to new beginnings. Live true to your passion, be patient with others, and don't fear stepping out of the shadows to shine. Act today, cherish those around you, and share your inspiring story. Like, comment, and subscribe to join us in spreading meaningful lessons. Your support is the spark that fuels us to create more compelling content that touches your heart.